I don't think I've probably done that any meaningful number, but you never know. Versus katanas, you see a katana, you're like, that's totally a katana. Alright, let's grab some more potatoes. That should be more than enough. Like I said, every time I exit an area I can't see through the door, we just dash the first couple steps just to make sure if there is a zombie there, we just nudge them out of the way, and it's not a tragedy. So, same plan as yesterday. We'll drive down here, get to that T, honk our horn, see what shakes out, kill it, and pick up, you know, where we left off. Because I figured as long as I'm down there honking my horn and more than like 10 zombies are showing up, we need to honk our horn to get more zombies to show up and kill them. Because, like, that to me indicates there's sufficient zombies nearby to be worth taking the time to kill. Because ultimately the goal is, quote-unquote, kill them all. So, if we get them to come to us, that's better than having to hunt them down. And by our best guesses, using math that is from before the multiplayer update, so clearly out-of-date math that we know isn't correct, but we don't know whether it's high, low, I mean it's going to be low, but we don't know like how much it's off or anything like that. We are expecting at least 900,000 zombies on the map. Our just kind of gut check estimate that's not based on any actual measurements people have done is I am going to guess that there's somewhere in the area of 1.2 million zombies on the map, because in the multiplayer map, or the multiplayer update, it did add Louisville, and with as dense as Louisville is, I'm going, okay, that's probably like 300,000 zombies just there. Like, I could easily see it being 1/3 of the population map just in Louisville. That's a fairly aggressive way for me to try and go for, because it's trying to like spin around, hit that zombie to finish them off, so it's already in position for the next one, and they took extra hits. That was pretty aggressive of me. There's definitely more zombies back there. We want to really slow it down with these giant piles of corpses. Let's see if we can't find that actual fast. I think it was like right here-ish. One of these bodies. Come on, you're over here somewhere. Hey, zombie, give me there it is. Okay, I see which one it is. Even more vitamins, excellent. Like, I don't want to keep the axe on me. It's really heavy. They're like 3 kilograms. But I want to grab it while we know where it is. And before we kick off the party. Alright, we'll start with the ones back here, because this is the way I'm least likely to see any meaningful number of zombies, because that's the way we've been living, that's the way we keep driving, like, you get the idea. This is where we frequent, versus the other directions we don't frequent nearly as much. So we'll keep backing up till we stop seeing zombies coming up behind us this way. Alright, I think we're good after this one. I saw one out of the corner of my eye to the east, but that's fine. Okay. Still got some stragglers that probably got caught up on the big tall fence and everything and had to walk around. That's fine. And just like that, another big horde of 20 plus zombies on our car. Every time. By this time, we're not sleepy, we're not exerted, so all these zombies are going to take 2 to 3 hits to kill, so they drop fast. Okay. That helicopter sure brought in zombies from far away, that's for sure. I think we've killed almost another 1,000 down here. Because we definitely crossed over 3,500 or 35,000 while we were fighting this. And that was after a good amount of kills. So if we're not 1,000, we're not far from. Alright, we can send our car, make ourselves another salad. Or I should just say eat our salad. Then make ourselves another salad. That way we're recovering our stamina while we're sitting here. Gursley Bear says, I'm also wondering how many other smaller meta events, gunshot screams that you never ever noticed already started drawing the zombies close before the heli. That's all possible. You also have the migrations and redistributions would naturally want to bring the zombies towards us as well. So the map will have zombies kind of continuing to return where we've already cleared. But it's kind of helpful because it does mean that the zombies are being taken away from somewhere else to come here. So I won't have to deal with that. Which does mean I'm fighting zombies here, where we know we're fairly safe, comparatively speaking, versus when we're trying to have to go into areas we haven't been yet, and dealing with that many more zombies. Because, like, part of me is hoping that we're drawing bunches of zombies, like, out of Muldrow and all that kind of stuff, so that when I go to Muldrow, I'll only be dealing with a fraction of the population I should be dealing with, so to speak. That's the reasons I kept making the comment. People are like, oh, it's clear you'll never see a zombie again. It's like, no, I will, no matter how many times I clear a place, unless I were to actually kill all the zombies on the map, eventually, whatever zombies are left on the map, sooner or later, would find their way back to me. So I was joking that, in theory, I could just sit at my base making lots of noise, and eventually we wouldn't wipe out probably the whole map, but we would kill literally hundreds of thousands of zombies. It's just, it would take years and years and years and years and years. Oh yeah, even fathoming just how much a million zombies should, like, I'm not kidding when it's like, if I were to just, so we've actually loaded into Louisville on 16x pop before. And we did get a bit crashy over there because of just how many zombies were involved. And that said, I'm not that worried about it, because realistically what will happen is I'm going to have like an absolute meat grinder trying to get into Louisville that will end up effectively thinning out the population there, because they're naturally going to be trying to push out because there's just too many zombies too nearby each other inside Louisville once I get close enough for them to all load. So that'll more than likely be an absolute slog of a meat grinder. Gotcha. I haven't done like really any modded maps that I realized. Like I had Raven Creek installed, but I just, with as much as there is in this map, I've never felt the need to expand on it. Sooner or later I will. I'm sure it'll happen. It just hasn't happened yet. Because I generally run extremely mod light. Most of the mods you'll see I have are just minor quality of life things and informational. Hey, Sploosh! Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the stream. Oh yeah, and I don't mind dense. Dense is fine. I mean, when you're playing 16x pop, like, playing a super density on a regular population feels like you're still, you know, reducing the amount of zombies you deal with. Yeah, no, and I've also heard that you deal with a lot of performance issues when it comes to Raven Creek, from my understanding. I just got a handful more zombies at the car, and then we'll honk our horn again. Because like I said, the plan is to basically keep doing that until we honk our horn, you know, and like, it's fine if zombies show up, but if it's like only like 2 or 3 zombies, that's good enough for me to say, alright, we've wiped out the area. Especially when we're just sitting there like honking the horn again and again and again. You'd think a KFC collab could happen in this game. I actually could see that. Considering KFC unironically made a visual novel dating game, that wouldn't surprise me at all. Yeah, where they have a quote-unquote young, hot Colonel Sanders. And you're just like, what? What am I playing? What is this game? Why does it exist? Oh, and their HQ is in Louisville? Okay. I was not aware of that. I mean, it makes sense. It's Kentucky Fried Chicken, but you know. I feel if they did the same thing that so many fast food places where they move all their headquarters into Florida for tax reasons. You know, when Kentucky is in your name, that would feel a little disingenuous. That was honestly one of those games I not for stream really because that'd be before stream that I had debated playing because it was just such a ridiculous game. Because like I don't mind games having a format that you know the format isn't usually my go-to. Because oh yeah, Burn and Sun. It's actually like because people have done Let's Plays and all that because it's such an absurd game. It's actually not that bad of a game from what I've seen. I haven't personally played it. Wasn't it like free as well? But it is like you're sitting there going, what? Like someone had to have greenlight this game. Like someone at KFC was like, you know what we should do? We should make a video game. And a whole bunch of people were like, yeah, we should make a video game. That's fine. And that's fair. That's been done before. But then they're like, but we're going to make it a visual novel. And everyone probably got silent in that room going, what? You go, no, hear me out. It'll be the Colonel in culinary school. And everyone will think the Colonel is like the greatest thing ever. It'd be great. And what I am describing is actually the game, by the way. I mean, not the person who came up with it, but yeah, it is like a dating sim where the Colonel, I think you're one person, like Colonel Sanders is there as like a very young, hot Colonel Sanders, like a 20-something Colonel Sanders or whatever. And just in culinary school. And it's so bizarre. Yeah, except the actual origins of KFC are like nothing like that. Which granted, like, it doesn't have terrible origin story, I think. It was just the guy's like, I want to sell chicken. And came up with ways to sell chicken and all that. Alright, so I'm not going to go after individual bodies for shredding clothes because I cannot be bothered. But little piles of bodies like over here, that's fine. We'll kill any zombies that show up. We'll start ripping stuff up. Because we have 3 days, I believe? Yeah, 3 days till severe weather, which is an inclusive thing, which means I probably have 1 full day of good weather after today, and then we'll be in a thunderstorm. Because apparently this year, the game was like, how would you like back-to-back thunderstorms? Where the moment one thunderstorm wraps up, we're already going to tell you the next one's on its way. Gotcha. I hadn't heard that part, but it wouldn't surprise me. Like, oh yeah, there's been another one. It's like the McDonald's one is ridiculous too. Like the origin story for McDonald's, whereas you know, 2 people and then they eventually sold their business and all that. You know, with their one rule of being able to like keep their old business or something else. Like there's a whole thing and that got super scummy. So many of those big chain stories got super scummy. What happened? Yeah, so skip all these little groups here. That's a pile we're going to dig through. I'm pretty sure the original Colonel Sanders is dead. I'm pretty sure they're not around. I think they've been gone for a long time, actually. Yeah, I was going to say, I think that was quite a while back that they had passed on. I mean, which doesn't surprise you. Like, too much. Like, from what I recall, it took them it took Colonel Sanders quite a while to get things off the ground. Like, it wasn't a young kid when it happened. One of the things I personally find fascinating is that, like, in Japan, like, eating fried chicken, specifically KFC, is such a big deal for, like, kind of a, I think it was Christmas they do that? And I always found that fascinating. I also remember there's an entire thing that, like, after winning, I can't remember if it's like World Cup, is like winning some sporting event or something like that. Like, they partied super hard, and one of the people took, like, the statues of Colonel Sanders that was, like, in front of one of the KFCs and chucked it in, like, a canal. And then they had never, like, won another game since then. And so there's, like, this whole curse that they actually, like, you know, they superstitiously, there's this whole curse. I don't think people, like, truly believe, but, you know, people get superstitious around sports. So they actually, like, eventually recovered all the parts of the statue out of the water and tried to, like, put it back together to, you know, lift the curse or whatever. And I found that amusing as all belief because I've heard people come up with that stupid kind of crap. You know, like, the person who doesn't wash their shirt before game day or whatever. But it was just fascinating because it's like, you know 99% of the people in that area were completely sound of mind individuals kind of deal, and then just people get super superstitious when you start, like, having a winning streak or a losing streak in a sporting event. And again, you have the people, it's like, oh, I don't wash my jersey after my team wins because I don't want to wash away the luck. And you're just going, what the hell's wrong with you? Like, it's like they brought on new talent. They got a new coach. The other team was playing poorly. Like, you know, they did things right. It's not some curse or some luck thing you did. It's people invested a lot of time and effort to win, and they did. Or you'll have people who have, like, their game day socks where there's this specific pair of socks that bring good luck or whatever, and you're just like, what? Yep, chroma keyed can. Yeah, the reason we're taking the time to tear up all these clothes here, so yeah. The reason we're taking all the time to do this right now is because we know we're going to be basically stuck dealing with the storm soon, so trying to get all this stuff for material so we have something productive we can do during the storm. Because unfortunately, with as soon as it's coming, there's no point in me riding over to Riverside just waiting there, unable to do anything. I wouldn't disagree, Gursley Bear. I, like, and this isn't a comment on religion or anything, but, like, whether it's superstition or you're spiritual or you're religious or all that, one of the ways that we like to handle things that we can't explain is, you know, through believing there's more to it. You know, that, like, something happened because we did some completely conflated arrangement of things that generated luck, or they, you know, pleased some entity that oversees sporting events or whatever it is. And again, that's not a comment against religion. I want to be clear about that. It's people, in the absence of being able to explain, will try and come up with an explanation. The whole... anything that's significantly complicated enough to not understand by an untrained individual is synonymous with magic. Yeah, no, that wasn't you. That was me who kind of stepped in that area. Like, it was unintentional. Yeah, very, very deliberately, when you can't explain something, it might as well be magic. So when you show someone a laptop and they don't understand the inner workings on it, you might as well say, this is magic. And without being able to prove you otherwise, like, it might as well be. Alright, we have completely filled our trunk with thread. And I could take the time to stack the thread and make it take way more less space, but that takes for absolutely ever and it's super tedious and I don't want to do it. So instead, I'm just going to put in the seat. Yep. Yep, and I think it's perfectly good for people to be spiritual or have, beliefs or views and all that. Because, I mean, even if you're, like, going, I only believe in hardcore science and all that, you still have a certain amount of faith you just have to have if you go with that. We know that the Big Bang happened, for example. Or rather, we theorize that the Big Bang happened, and we have tons of evidence supporting that belief. At the same time, you do have to go back to, well, what caused the Big Bang? And just kind of look at each other and go, ah. So even with science, you have to take a certain amount of faith with stuff. Burnside, people used to look at the Pleiades around a certain time of the year, and if they could see them, they would start planting. Turns out it actually improved their chance of a good season based on the upper atmos winds, clearing out stuff to be able to see those stars. Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. How reliable are annotated maps? I've never had an annotated map that isn't correct. But yeah, like, I've never had an annotated map where I'm like, this is incorrect. That said, I honestly don't bother with annotated maps, because usually if I'm clearing, I'm just, clearing an area, grab the vitamins. Like, I don't take the time to go through and go, oh, it says Survivor House here, let me just go there. Like, I'm going to go through the areas I'm going to go to. I actually grabbed everything, I didn't want to do that. Yeah. No, there's been those theories that, like one of the old theories that's mostly at this point people don't invest in anymore, but that the universe was cyclical in the sense that you'd have a big bang, everything would go apart, and then gradually, because it used to be believed that gravity had infinite range, but like the amount of force it applied would get gradually more and more diminished. We have since revised that to gravity doesn't have infinite range. There's a point that gravity stops influencing things around it. But with that previous belief, it's like, okay, well then eventually everything would collapse back into one point. And so that you had like this cycle where the universe would expand, collapse, expand, collapse. But since then we've revised our beliefs that, we don't think it collapses. We think that it'll just continue expanding until things are so far spread apart that it can no longer sustain anything meaningful. And if you really want to be depressed, study astronomy, where everything involves the death of everybody. Eventually, after millions of years. Well, billions of years, whatever you believe we can pull off. Yep. Heat death of the universe. When everything's so far apart and the fuel is used up that there's just not enough energy. That said, we're talking trillions and trillions and trillions of years in the future. Yeah. So the multiple worlds theory, so like that's one I'm not personally invested in, but it's probably the most fun theory, I would say. Like I like the idea that there's, hey, we just gained our 8th point tailoring by ripping clothes. The eighth point tailoring that we were ripping the clothes to get thread for to help us get. All right. I'm not going to complain. And for the record, ripping clothes does give you tailoring XP every time you get thread. So it doesn't matter what you're grabbing, what you're doing. Every time you get a spool of thread, you get a tiny amount of XP. It's really not much. That's the reason I was so surprised that we actually gained a level out of that. I was like, let's see here. Yeah, we're gaining 0.3 XP per piece of clothing that we're getting a piece of thread out of. Hey! Give me a moment, I'll give you a shout out. Nalutic coming in with that raid. Playing some Project Zomboid I see, so how was your stream? Hopefully, most of the deaths were the zombies. Or I should say all the deaths were zombies. And if they weren't, hopefully at least the deaths were fun and or you learned something. We're getting ready for a nasty storm, so this area was considered clear. And then we had a helicopter. And I have been alarmed at the number of zombies that showed up in an area that we had already cleared. So, you know. Yeah, that's a thing. This is nowhere near the most bodies we've seen, by the way. But yeah, so we had a helicopter show up. We're like, alright, we'll go in the south end of town. We haven't done that in a while, and just... I wouldn't be surprised if we killed 1,000 zombies just in the last 3-4 days dealing with the fallout of that helicopter. I'm not going to sit here and grind up all these bodies. I'm just trying to get the piles where there's lots of them. Putting together some threads so that when the storm rolls through, we have something to work on while it's not safe to go out and fight zombies. Pretty much that's the way we've been rolling with this. Days that the weather's nice, we beat the heck out of zombies again and again and again. Days that the weather sucks, we lay low and work on skills. So, we kind of got this weird thing where we got one storm ended, and we already had the notification that the next storm was coming. So it's like, alright game, I see how it is. Because I had, when we started, predicted that we would actually finish clearing Riverside today. I think we'll still pull it off, but the game has absolutely tried its best to be like, no, I'm going to take away like 5 days or something that you could be clearing Riverside by just giving you bad weather again and again. No. The fitness club's VHSs are 100% useless beyond they alleviate boredom. Which basically to me is useless because you know how else you alleviate boredom? You walk outside and you stand still. Outside is considered not boring to your character. Like, even if you walk outside, you sit in a corner in a tiny little area that's like walled in where you cannot see anything and just sit there for like 10-20 hours, your character will lose boredom. It's just the way it is. Your character is clearly solar powered. Yeah, so you see severe thunderstorm imminent 3 days. That's inclusive. So like today is day 1, tomorrow would be day 2, and then the day after would be day 3. So I've got one more day of not crap weather, and then we're back to crap weather. So I'm going to hit this pile here, that pile there, and then I think that'll be enough for now. Because I'm not tracking down all these, I'm just trying to get thread. But yeah, so everyone who's just come in, what we're doing right now is we're playing Project Zomboid at 16 times population, which is the maximum population the game supports without mods. We have our helicopters set to sometimes, which means we get about 2 to 3 helicopters per month in-game, and we have the respawns turned off. The goal we have is quote-unquote kill them all. To that end, we have completely cleared the city of Ekron. We have completely cleared the country club south of Riverside. We have cleared the factory warehouse area south of Riverside. We're about 2/3 the way through Riverside. We're just down to, like, there's the ritzy part of town. That's all we have left. But, the game's being kind of a punk and just giving us bad weather again and again, which is pretty annoying in all honesty. So we're just kind of leveling our trade skills. On top of that, let me move this up here, because now I remember I have the camera. When we started this character, we do a build which I refer to as 0 to hero, which is we start weak, obese, and unfit with slow healing, which means when I start, there is nothing on this entire screen. I have 0 fitness, 0 strength, 0 combat skills, 0 agility, 0 crafting, 0 fighting with, like, guns, 0 survivalists. This whole thing is empty. So we start out as quote-unquote a 0. And as you can see, we've made pretty good progress at this point. Most of our combat skills are coming up to the point of 6s and 7s. A couple stragglers that... Because I haven't been crafting any weapons. Like, I crafted one set of spears right at the beginning of the game because I was desperate for a weapon. Because that's how the beginning of these runs go, is you use every weapon you can get, including, like, silverware and that, because you will break all of your weapons until you get maintenance up. There's just that many zombies. But as you can see, we're at the point we are 35,000 and some change zombies killed. We have survived for 8 months, 16 days, 12 hours. And that just goes to show you how many zombies are on this map. That, as you remember, I basically said I've cleared one small town, a couple of, like, side stops, and we've got a pretty good amount of mileage on the first and the lowest population town in the game, as far as, like, the starting towns. And we're already at 33,500 zombies. Or 35,500 zombies. So... our best estimates, and this is based on math that is out of date because it's math from before the multiplayer update, is that there is somewhere in the area of 900,000 zombies on the map. My guess, based off that number, because Louisville did not exist at that point, my guess is that we're probably close to 1.2 million zombies on the map, maybe 1.3 million, somewhere in that range. So, that's a thing. Now, granted, where beforehand I was killing, like, 100 zombies a day, like, really struggling to do that, nowadays killing 1,000 zombies a day is not unheard of at all. Like, if I get a day where I get a hold of, like, a machete or a katana, I can just remove hundreds of zombies in the course of a couple of minutes. Like, a whole horde walks up to me, and I barely backpedal to wipe them out. And we'll just keep getting stronger and stronger to the point that it won't really matter what weapon type I break out, I will just wipe out hordes one after the other. And then the more fitness and strength we get, the longer we can go at it before we have to stop and go off. Hey, Colo, how's it going? Yeah, I think that's the last pile we tear close up. You see sun? I mean... if you were supposed to be, like, sleeping right now and you see sun, that's probably not a good thing. I know insomnia be like that, though. Alright, and this is the last pile of zombies we're shredding, because we're at full-on nauseous. And the closest we've come to... yeah. We've had 3 close calls so far as death in this game. We had one where there's a big box van. We went to walk to the driver's seat, and there was a cheeky zombie just hiding behind the box van that we couldn't see or hear or anything until we were basically standing on it. Luckily, tailoring is incredibly powerful, and instead of killing us, it just tore our jacket. We had the closest we come to, like, actually dying so far as health. Was basically I stood around where we were fighting zombies down the main road in Riverside, and when I say the road was covered, like, you'd see, like, a little spot of concrete and then nothing but bodies and a little spot of concrete here and there. And we got to the point that we kept getting sicker and sicker and sicker from all the bodies that we actually got a full-on fever, at which point your health starts draining very rapidly, and... we got down to about 10% health before I managed to get away from the bodies and cool ourselves off enough that we weren't just dying of fever. Like that, like legitimately I was going to be very salty if I had, you know, basically died from corpses after killing, that's probably like 29,000, 30,000 zombies at that point. And then recently we had one of the Spiffo vans, and it was the exact same thing where the Spiffo van obscured my vision. We went to walk up to it. Some cheeky zombie like lunged out from it, grabbed us. And both those times we tried to dodge out of the way, but it was just, you know, get last minute warning, not enough time to react. It got to the point, because that was earlier today, and I was pretty salty about it. And once again, we did get saved without an injury because tailoring is incredibly powerful, and everyone should take the time to tailor at some point. But yeah, we... Gotcha. Yeah, we got super sketchy close. I wouldn't be surprised if the clip from earlier during stream may have been that. I haven't looked, because I don't check what people clip during stream, because, you know... Guts to stream. Being sleepy hurts your damage a lot, by the way. I'm still surprised we've seen more zombies here. I mean, we had this point with this town that we rolled through the town fairly regularly, but like once a month we were stopping. I've got this police car up here. Like, it's an absolute wreck. We wouldn't want to drive it. But I would turn on the sirens and just chill here and maybe fight 10, 20 zombies tops, just sitting there for a half an hour in game kind of thing. And I did see that zombie. I'm trying to get away from all these bodies before we get a fever. Because fever can completely kill you. Nice! Finding all the VHSs is excellent. So this is our base we're coming up to now. Oh, and the reason I'm using the sports car is I've gotten to the point I'm terrified of large, tall vehicles because of how many close calls we've had with them. I should get gas. And then plus, the sports car has an engine with 570 horsepower, which is pretty exciting. Alright, before we gas up, we do a lap around the pumps. Make sure we don't see any zombies wandering up, because you're super not safe when you're fueling up. So looks clear, fill up our pump, our car, all that good stuff. Alright, we'll leave all those in there as spares. No, the power has been off for a long time. I have a generator running in range of this. Yep, there's a generator right here. Because this is my base down here. When I started this run, I wanted to live in that gas station, but the game decided that gas station was burned down, so, you know, I live with it. And this is probably a terrible idea that I shouldn't do, but I'm gonna do it, which is I'm gonna walk over here and go plop. And thread everywhere. And this is our katana bed. It's where we put all the katanas we found this run. And as I mentioned, my settings basically are apocalypse, with the zombies toned way up so far as how many there are, and multiple helicopters. We have not changed any loot settings, nor am I using any mods to change any loot settings in any meaningful way. Or in any way whatsoever, actually. So, where you see, I believe this is 18 katanas now? Yeah, 18 katanas on this bed. Those have all been found normally and naturally. We killed lots of zombies. They were stuck in them and all that. That's really unfortunate there for you, Colo. Sorry to hear that. We're just shoveling food in our mouth before we go to bed. Oh, and our character is Dr. Ellen Ennis, regardless of what it says. We have our 4 doctorates on the wall there. We have 2 doctorates in just, like, general doctoring, and then the other 2 are doctorates in surgery. Most people have to go through, you know, a whole bunch of years, go through the residency, all that kind of stuff. We just walked in the pharmacy with a crowbar, killed a bunch of zombies, and then took the doctorates. Thank you to follow, Dying Brainstem. Welcome to the stream. And no, respawns are turned off. As I mentioned, we do anticipate there being somewhere in the area of 900,000 to potentially 1.2 million, somewhere in that range, zombies in the world. So we're gonna be busy. We're just going to blast through this tailoring book, which is the very last tailoring book. After that, we'll have no more tailoring books to read. But we're getting pretty close to maxing out our tailoring. I can actually go through these skills while we wait. Yeah, so as you can see, we started with 0 fitness. We're now at 6. We started at 0 strength. We're now at 7. We almost never sprint, which is why we have very little of it. Our nimble is getting dangerously close to 5, which is really excellent. Our combat skills are 6 and 7-ish. A couple are getting pretty close to 8, like maintenance is getting kind of close to 8, which will be exciting. We've maxed out our carpentry. Our cooking is getting close to being maxed out. Our farming is at a 6. Our mechanic and metalworking are coming up on 5, which I definitely want that, because my intentions are to find any type of good police car that isn't a absolute total wreck, and repair it up to full, basically anything with a siren, I should say. Because I'll use that to draw out the zombies to kill more. Our tailoring, we're at 8, getting pretty close to 10. Aiming and reloading are at 5 and 4, mostly because we went on 1 shotgun rampage a long time ago. Out of our kills, we've probably killed just about 1,000 using guns. All the rest have been melee. And their survival skills are pretty terrible. Yeah, there is a surprising number of native Kentuckians in rural Kentucky rocking katanas.